So the Second Amendment, which we are all trying to protect, no doubt, against this administration. And I just wanted to start because I always like to say, when I gave a speech about the Second Amendment a couple of months ago, and I started with it, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state and the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That is extremely important, and we are finding time after time, law after law, ordinance after ordinance, that right is being slowly chipped away from us. All of our founders knew how important this right was. It was the one right through which all of our other rights could be protected and kept. You know, the right to deterring an undemocratic government. Gee, that sounds familiar. The right to repelling invasion. The right to suppressing insurrection. Facilitating a natural right of self-defense, participating in law enforcement. Thank you, Gary. Enabling the people to organize a militia system. Even George Mason said one time during the Virginia Conventions, the British Parliament was once advised by then Governor of Pennsylvania that disarming the people was, quote, the best and most effectual way to enslave them, but that they should not do it openly. They should weaken them and let them sink gradually. That sounds extremely familiar in today's environment. We have Fast and Furious, where our own government sold arms to the Mexicans that they used to kill our own border agents. Then they perpetuated a false meme in order to try to pass additional laws and regulations saying that all of the guns, 90% of the guns used in Mexican crimes come from the United States. That's completely false. The 70% of the guns that actually were originated in the United States were only the guns that were turned into the tobacco and firearms people. They were not all of the guns that were used in the crime, but people like Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid, they used these skewed facts and figures in order to pass laws that will further limit what we can do with our Second Amendment rights. Then we have the UN Small Arms Treaty, where they're trying to have, they're trying to scale back the domestic manufacture, possession, and sale of firearms and ammo. They're giving an international authority the right to regulate arms here in our own United States, which are protected, and they want an international gun registry. And then you have a similar thing even going on over in Illinois, where they want all of the people who have guns over there in a public registry. Well, I don't think I want the criminals to know whether or not I have a gun. I don't think that's anybody's business but my own, first of all. And then you have people going into states like New York. You have the right to have a gun here. You properly transport it to the state of New York, and then you're arrested in New York for trying to bring it back to your own home state. So these are all ways in which our government is just attacking our Second Amendment rights. So the question is then, what do we do? Well, first of all, I'm here to tell you guys, don't lose hope. That's the thing. We have a lot of complacency today. We have a lot of people who are very disheartened. They don't see a lot of progress, and it's very easy to lose hope. But we can't. We must continue to fight, and we have to find the ways that are effective. Everybody's going to find a different thing that they want to do that's going to work for them, that's going to be effective in order to protect this right. So I've got a couple suggestions for you guys. We have a lot of really great groups out there that are doing different things that might appeal to people in different ways. You've got to get involved. That's how you're going to protect your Second Amendment right. You can start with something like Missouri Precinct Project. They do training to get people involved in voter registration, door knocking, poll watching, all kinds of things to do with protecting the integrity of the vote and of the poll. And that's very, very important, and also in getting information out. So getting involved with them is extremely great. They want to have people walking neighborhoods, identifying individuals that are not registered to vote, get them registered to vote, educate the voters on the issues and the candidates that are out there, and then get you all running for committeemen and committeewomen in your townships. You know, we have to take over from the inside out. That's the only way that we're going to be able to protect our rights. If the people who are in there now are not doing it, then we've got to get in there and do it for ourselves. So Missouri Precinct Project is a really good one to get involved with if you're interested in really sort of getting in the inside, working in the guts. That's a great place to go. Tea Party is another really good place to go. You can come to us. We hold all kinds of events. We hold educational events. We also will be doing some voter registration stuff this year. We do a lot of stuff down in Jefferson City with legislation supporting or not supporting various legislation that's in Jefferson City. So Gary and I make trips down there for that, he more so than I even, to make sure that as legislation is going through Jeff City, somebody's down there keeping an eye on it. So getting involved with the Tea Party is a good thing to do. Become a poll worker. I mean, these are some of the most important people that we have during the actual various elections and voting cycles that we have going on. There is tons of stuff going on out there with voter fraud and poll fraud. And if you are in a heavily Democratic area, and I just learned this at our event last weekend the Tea Party had, if you're in a heavily Democratic area and they don't have any Republican poll watchers, they will assign a Democrat to play the Republican poll watcher. Well, I can imagine how well that comes off for the Republicans if they have any questions or any issues that come up. I assume that it would be very easy to say, well, you know, that's probably okay. They're not a Republican anyway. What do they care? So become a poll worker. And I believe, and again, this is something that you want to check for sure with Missouri Precinct Project, but as I was wandering in and out of the room, I believe it was something like, you can be a poll worker anywhere. So where we really need them are probably areas where you guys don't live, but that's fine. Become a poll worker, get trained, you get paid for it, and then go, you know, into the city or up into North County and in areas where they're much more heavily Democratic and we need some Republican representation or conservative representation up there. So that's a very important thing that could be done, becoming a poll worker. And then, of course, the other thing is the work, the hard work. Walk the streets, knock the doors, hand out the constitutions, find candidates that you want to work for, find issues you want to work on, and volunteer for those. All of our groups are desperate for people to truly volunteer. You know, in most groups, you have a core of 6 or 3 or 11 people who are doing all of the really hard work, and it's hard for us to get volunteers to do other things. You know, we need, when we open our office this year, we're going to need people to sit on phones. We're going to need people to come in and walk neighborhoods. You know, we're going to need you guys out there working for the candidates that are going to do the most to protect our rights. And of course, that's the other thing, calling the candidates. I'm sure that you guys, just like me, you get emails every single day, call about this, call about that, there's some big emergency vote going on, pay attention, call, call, call. And I know that it gets old to do those things, but if we're not going to bug the people who are in there, and we're not going to work to replace them, we are going to lose our Second Amendment rights, along with all of the other rights that we have. You know, they're already chipping away at them. So do the volunteer work, go to the groups that you want to work with, and do the things that they need to have done. And then, of course, finally, one of the really important things, and Bill Hennessy talks about this, and we're probably, if you're interested, we're probably going to do an after party on it at some point, which is something that St. Louis Tea Party does, and you can check our site for this, for the upcoming schedule. But Bill Hennessy talks about the importance of, and this is in particular for a group like this, you know, the younger generation is doing a lot of stuff online, and not that the older generation isn't, but you know, all of the young kids, they're online. Everything is social media, everything is Facebook and Twitter and blogging and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is, face-to-face communication, you can never do away with that. And Bill Hennessy has a long, involved, complicated process that he talks about how it's so interesting that if you do the offline social networking, if you say to somebody, I voted today, I voted for Alan West, I voted for, you know, Chris Christie, whatever, pick your favorite candidate, I voted for that person, and you just say that to somebody, even if they don't agree with you, that statement could have an impact 3 separations away from you, that they may repeat that to somebody else who will hear it. So you may be influencing people you don't even know if you just simply take a stand and say, I voted for Proposition B, I voted for this person. You know, so the offline social networking is extremely important. Talk to your family, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors. Start with them, and hopefully they will also spread the word about what we're doing, because you'll influence people who don't, maybe they haven't made up their mind yet, maybe they don't know what they want to do, and they're going to listen to somebody else say that. Somebody in the grocery store might hear you say that when you're talking to your kid, you know, and then maybe they take that home and they decide they're going to look at it online. They're going to do a little research on whatever it was you were talking about. So saying these things and being firm in our beliefs and our commitment to whatever the issue or the candidate or whatever it is that you're talking about it has a lot more impact than you realize. especially when you do it with people that you know, because then they will do it with people that they know. You empower them to feel like, well, you said it, now I can say it. Well, he said he voted for, a gun thing, conceal carry, whatever, so I should feel empowered. I have somebody on my side. So you can influence people who maybe don't know what they want to do. You can help people who do know what they want to do, but maybe are afraid to talk about it. In this environment, a lot of conservatives are afraid to admit how they really feel. So maybe they feel a little more empowered when they know they've got somebody on their side. And then finally, you may influence people you don't even know about by doing that. So that's extremely important. And also, make sure you guys are donating. I hate to stand up here and ask for money, but all of these groups, if you don't want to donate to Tea Party, don't, since I'm the one talking today. But if there are groups you're interested in donating to, we don't operate on any money whatsoever. Lots of other groups are in the same boat. So if we want to have an office, we have to raise cash. I'm not paying for the office. So if you got $5 or $10, donate. Find a group you want to support and give them some money, because we all need a little bit of money. And I think, I put that on my list because I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they're like, what do you mean Tea Party needs money? I thought you guys had money. We don't have any money. We operate on nothing, just like everybody else. So if you want to donate, and if it's something you believe in, because the fact of the matter is, we all know this, you can't do anything without some kind of money. We are fighting George Soros and the multi-billion-dollar machine of the left. We've got to have a few dollars to do that. So donate to the organizations that you like and help them out. The biggest thing that you can do is give them your person, your physical being. Go in there and say, what are you working on? What can I do? Because that's what we're most short of, is help. And candidates, the same thing. Find candidates that support the Second Amendment, candidates that you can believe in what they're saying, and get your behinds in there and help them out, because that's what they really, really need. And of course, for motivation, I will leave you with one more quote. Patrick Henry said during the Virginia Conventions, "Guard with jealous attention the public liberty. Suspect everyone who approaches that jewel. Unfortunately, nothing will preserve it but downright force. When you give up that force, you are inevitably ruined." So just don't forget that. If we stop fighting and we become complacent, the Second Amendment and then every other right that we have will no longer exist, because with the Second Amendment is what we protect all of our other rights, our families, and our right to the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So that's what you guys can do to get involved. And I can't stress enough, just putting your bodies in organizations and helping those organizations out and becoming a poll worker. Get involved with MOP. That is one of the best organizations as far as influencing legislation and the vote, keeping the integrity of the vote. That's one of the best organizations we've got around. Go out and do something for MOP. So that's it. That's all I got.
Thank you.